everyone, welcome to Waracademy. Today we are going to see the news of 3rd September. The first news is about the hydroelectric power projects that are going to be constructed in the Himalayan areas. We generally know that these Himalayan regions are very fragile and vulnerable basins. Any construction activity that would take place in these Himalayas will only lead to a lot of disaster in these areas. Recently, the last disaster that took place here was the Rishi Ganga Valley disaster in the month of February. In this disaster, nearly 200 people lost their lives because here the river turned into a flood and it carried a lot of slit and debris on its way and it destroyed all the hydropower projects in this way. So a lot of people lost their lives. Lot of other disasters have also taken place in the last decade in the state of Uttarakhand. Generally, for any construction activities in these areas, the permission of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change should be sought. Now recently, this ministry itself filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court of India recommending the construction of the 7 partially constructed hydroelectric projects in the Uttarakhand Himalayan area. What is the main aim of this ministry is that it should protect the country's natural environment. And this ministry itself giving permission for this construction activity has caused a lot of chaos in the country because it would lead to a lot of disasters in the upcoming days also. And expert committees are also formed to oversee this construction recommendations. The first expert body was formed under the chairmanship of Ravi Chopra. This Ravi Chopra recommendations calculated the risks that would be taken for the construction of these structures, and it also told what and all disasters would take place by these constructions. But his report was overpowered by the second expert body report that was formed under the DAS. It's very evident from this that the ministry wanted construction of the hydropower projects. So what it did was, until it achieved what it wanted, it kept on forming the committees so as to allow these construction activities without knowing what would happen the later days because of these constructions. It was also said that the temperature in these areas would rise by around 1 degree to 2 degree on an average by around 2050. Due to the increase in these temperatures, we know there would be retreating glaciers and alternating phases of flood and drought which will impact the seasonal flow of these rivers. Due to the impact of this flow in the rivers, what would happen is the construction activities of these projects and the main purpose of these constructions will also be very big question here. Next, what we are going to see is about the tragedies that took place. The first one we saw was the Rishi Ganga tragedy. In 2012 also there were a lot of flash floods. In 2013 also there were a lot of flash floods. These are examples of how it would take place because of the construction of the hydroelectric projects which will affect the high velocity flows in this area which will lead to these disasters. Okay, so now what is the conclusion here is the government must understand all these disasters and it should oversee the construction and stop the construction activities in these Himalayan regions. Next is about the increase in exports in the month of August. We saw yesterday that the GST collections in the month of August were high than the month of June. In the month of June, the country was under the lockdown period. So there was no much GST collections because the economic activity at that time was nil actually. But due to this rise in the collections, we can see that economic activity have started taking place in the country and a country is also in the growing trend of the economy. We can see here the exports of this August was around 33.14 for the merchandise. Merchandise is nothing but for the clothes. it was generally higher than 45.17% than the last year August. So this clearly shows that India is now in the growing trend in the economy. Now the government has also announced a lot of subsidies for this exports. So these exports are now a growing trend in India. Next, we are going to see about the Durand Line conflict between the Afghanistan and Pakistan. Generally, what is this Durand Line is this? It is a line that divides the Afghanistan and the Pakistan territory here. This Durand Line was constructed in 1893, November 12. It was an agreement that was signed between a British civil servant, Sir Henry Mortimer Durand, and that time the Afghan ruler Amir Abdul Rahman. This line divides this territory. Recently, when the Taliban was asked about this Durand Line, they said that the decision would be based on the nation's decision because the line belongs to both the countries and the decision would be taken in a way which is peaceful to both the countries. Next, India is keeping a watch on the ties between Taliban and Pakistan. Recently, we saw very much in the news about the Taliban's attack in the Afghanistan. Now, what has to be done is Taliban should reconstruct this Afghanistan. And for reconstruction, this Taliban should start developing a friendly relationship with the neighboring countries and with other countries. Okay, first here we can see why India is keeping a watch on the Pakistan and Taliban ties is that Pakistan and India are already not on good terms due to various causes. Now they are seeing whether these Talibans will extend the support to Pakistan and not support India. So first we will see how the Pakistan is expecting the support from these Talibans. These Pakistans have been a home to lot of Taliban leaders. When Talibans wanted to escape from other countries after some attacks, they would take the custody in the Pakistan. Okay, so we can say that it was like a home for the Talibans. Pakistan was like a home for the Talibans. But recently, this Taliban spokesperson, when he gave the interview, he did not mention anything about this Pakistan ties. What he said when asked about the Kashmir issue, he said that Kashmir is an issue between India and the Pakistan, and the Talibans, we have no issues to do with that. So what they'll have to do is they have to solve the issues by themselves, and they should not use the Afghan territory to deal this dispute. So this was very much shocking to Pakistan because they were expecting the support of the Talibans. Okay, so what we can infer from this is that Talibans are now in the process of constructing the country which is not home to terrorists, and they have planned to give a good rule to the people which was not like the 2001 rule.
Hope this video is very useful. I would like to say that our academy WAR, Win and Rule, is coaching students in various exams like NEET, TNPSC, UPSCs, as well as we are tutoring students from class 6 to 12 in all subjects. One-to-one student coaching is also available at students' preferable timing. For further detail, refer the description.